When we think of brilliant scientists, we often think of European men like Isaac Newton or Albert Einstein. But these guys are so famous only because their names were written down in history books. He was a polymath who worked on mathematics, astronomy, law, and philosophy, and he's considered to be the greatest astronomer of his time. In fact, some believe he was even more advanced than Newton, although Newton did get more credit for it. He studied them all very carefully, learning everything he could. Soon enough, he became the leading expert on astronomy in the kingdom. It's said that whenever the king needed advice on important matters such as planting crops or starting wars, he would ask Ahmed Baba to help him decide. The king's enemies invaded the city and looted the royal library, burning many precious texts. Some scholars believe that up to 40,000 books were destroyed. Ahmed Baba barely managed to escape with his life. He fled to another city and spent his remaining days teaching there. When he died in 1527, his name was removed from history books and his story was buried. Only a few people remember him today. He helped the king choose the best time to do certain things based on the positions of the stars and planets, just like how people still use calendars today. This is your host. And until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and stay tuned. This is part of a larger trend towards decolonizing education. The caves contain some of the oldest examples of rock art ever found. They depicted scenes from daily life, hunting expeditions, and religious rituals. But what really caught the attention of researchers was one particular painting. It showed a group of men standing around an object that looked like a helicopter. The painting was dated back 12,000 years, which meant that humans had developed advanced technology long before we thought possible. The discovery caused quite a stir among experts. Could it be true that ancient humans had access to highly advanced technology? Or was there another explanation? As more and more people learn about Ahmed Baba, they're realizing that he wasn't just a great scientist, he was a great man. It's a type of delta-wing kite that's been used in Africa for centuries. The discovery taught us that humans had been using kites for far longer than previously thought. But it also raised questions about how ancient humans had managed to develop such a sophisticated piece of technology. If you want to find out more about the history of kites and how they evolved over time, then click on the video on the screen now. It's easy to see why so many Africans today are passionate about science. The legacy of Ahmed Baba lives on through them. His work may have been forgotten for centuries, but now it's being rediscovered. And that's why I'm making these videos. Despite facing racism and losing everything he worked for, he never gave up on his studies. He continued to write and teach until he died. His dedication to learning is an inspiration to us all. He observed the stars and kept careful records, predicting when comets and eclipses would occur. A statue was erected in his honor in the city of Timbuktu, where a museum dedicated to his life and work has been planned. In addition, there are ongoing efforts to translate his writings into English so that more people can learn about them. All of this is done in the hope that his story will inspire future generations of African scientists. Using simple tools made of wood and string, he was able to measure the Earth's circumference within a margin of error of only 200 miles, almost as accurate as modern-day methods. While Newton wouldn't become interested in astronomy until much later in life, Ahmed Baba spent years of his life studying the stars. That way you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Together, we can keep the memory of Ahmed Baba alive and ensure that his story inspires future generations. He built large towers to observe the skies, equipped with sophisticated instruments to measure time. He used this knowledge to design new calendars and clocks that were more accurate than anything seen before in Europe. Although his methods were much simpler, his predictions were as accurate as those made by European astronomers of the time. This was because he had access to books from Arab scholars who recorded astronomical observations dating back thousands of years. So who is this man? How did he live? What did he invent? And why did his name get lost in history? He wrote extensively on many subjects, including medicine, geography, and even theology. However, perhaps his most important contribution was his book called the Zikr al-Sudan, which means Remembrance of Negro Land. It was a detailed account of the history and geography of sub-Saharan Africa, written in Arabic. Before this book, Europeans knew very little about Africa. Everything they knew came from stories told by traders who visited the coast or from accounts written by travelers who went deep into the desert. Ahmed Baba wanted to change that. So he set out on a journey across Africa to learn more about its people and cultures. He traveled for months, meeting local leaders and studying their customs. He learned about their languages, religions, and way of life. Then he wrote it all down in his book, which became one of the first comprehensive descriptions of sub-Saharan Africa ever written by a Muslim author. The book was a bestseller in Timbuktu, selling copies throughout North Africa. To this day, it remains one of the most important sources for anyone wanting to study African history. Unfortunately, though, most Europeans wouldn't read it for another 400 years because of the color of their skin. Well, join me on this journey as we take a look back at the incredible life of the man who was smarter than Newton but didn't get any recognition for it. There are so many other geniuses that could have changed the world but didn't get a chance. Back then, West Africa was filled with wealthy trading kingdoms. This was long before the age of colonialism, when African leaders ruled over prosperous lands. Munsau Abubakar II, the ruler of the Kingdom of Songhai, appointed Ahmed Baba as his court astronomer. As the king's advisor, he was in charge of looking after the royal family and teaching the next generation. At the time, Timbuktu was the wealthiest city in Africa. It was known as the City of Gold, and many people from across the continent would come here to trade and visit its impressive buildings and mosques. People would travel from all around the world to attend its university, which was one of the largest in the world. It's said that every Friday thousands of students would gather there to discuss topics about Islam, science, law, and medicine. It was also home to the Sankore Library, which housed tens of thousands of manuscripts written on papyrus. Many of these texts contain knowledge from ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome. The libraries of Timbuktu were considered to be the greatest in the world. They collected books from all over, especially from North Africa and the Middle East. Take Ahmed Baba of Timbuktu, an African scholar who lived 300 years before Einstein. It was around the year 1487 when Ahmed Baba of Timbuktu was born. So when Ahmed Baba started working at the royal court, he had access to most of the scientific texts from across the world. But while Ahmed Baba was advancing the field of astronomy, he was also writing books of his own. You see, while Ahmed Baba was traveling across Africa, a civil war broke out in Timbuktu. However, recently there has been a movement to bring African history back into the spotlight. In recent years, several documentaries and articles have been written about him. After all, imagine growing up knowing that one of your ancestors was smarter than Newton. If you want to learn more about amazing people from Africa, then please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching. In 1960, a team of archaeologists discovered a series of caves near the town of Tassili in Niger in the Sahara Desert. Today, we know that the painting is actually a depiction of a type of kite called a papoose.